Dear Patriots, before the news starts, please subscribe to our patriotic channel by clicking the subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up to this video. Don't forget to leave your opinion below in the comments section. Share the news on Facebook and Twitter so your friends see it. Thank you.
Trump upends gun politics, for now. Donald Trump dramatically shook up the firearms debate on Capitol Hill on Wednesday, if he can stick to his guns. During an hour-long televised meeting with lawmakers in both parties, Trump stiff-armed congressional Republicans' guns strategy while endorsing some bipartisan ideas Democrats are pushing. But as Washington grapples for a response to the February 14 massacre in Parkland, Florida, Trump's ability to find results will depend on whether he can prod the GOP-led Congress to move beyond its comfort zone on guns. Members of both parties were highly uncertain on Wednesday about whether Trump would maintain his embrace of gun control proposals that are bitterly opposed by the National Rifle Association and anathema to many conservatives on Capitol Hill, including expanded background checks and raising the age limit to buy certain rifles to 21. Several Democrats likened the meeting to Trump's January push for comprehensive immigration reform, another televised summit with lawmakers, which he followed with a head-snapping turnabout against such a compromise 2 days later. "I've been with the president in meetings where he made similar promises," said Senate Minority Whip Dick Durbin of Illinois. "Stay tuned. My advice is hope for the best, don't be surprised if he changes his mind in 48 hours. Senator Chris Coons, D-Del, offered a similar warning. "I'm afraid what we are going to see is an exact repeat of the pattern we saw before, where the president has a wonderful and constructive and open and bipartisan meeting on immigration, and 48 hours later, rejects a strong bipartisan deal," he said. Trump's endorsement of an expanded background checks bill from Senators Joe Manchin, D.W. Virginia, and Pat Toomey, ARPA, left both senators enthusiastic about reviving it, despite their failure to win 60 votes in 2013 and 2015 after other mass shootings. "The way I take it is, the president's commitment and passion for this that we saw today I think will remain," Toomey told reporters. "I think that, over time, can move votes." But other Republicans made clear that they see little prospect of moving beyond a narrow, bipartisan proposal to improve background check record keeping, despite Trump's declaration that it would be nice if we could add everything onto it. Senate Majority Whip John Cornyn, Republican Texas, who at times was visibly agog during the meeting, said, "I wouldn't confuse what he said with what can actually pass in terms of people's views on the Second Amendment, for example." Trump is a unique president, Cornyn added. "If he was focused on a specific piece of legislation rather than a grab bag of ideas, then I think he could have a lot of influence. But right now, we don't have that." Senator Marco Rubio, Republican Florida, who is open to barring those younger than 21 from buying the AR-15 style rifles used in the Florida school shooting, recalled that you saw, even in that room at the White House on Wednesday, some hesitation on the age limit. "The comprehensive package Trump floated would be ideal," Rubio told reporters, "but I don't think it's likely, knowing this place." Perhaps Trump's most durable move on Wednesday was insisting that House conservatives in the lower chamber abandon their plans to keep an expansion of concealed carry rights for gun owners attached to the narrow background checks bill, which would encourage federal agencies and states to submit information on individuals' criminal histories to the FBI's National Instant Criminal Background Check System. "You know I'm your biggest fan in the whole world, I'm with you, but let it be a separate bill," Trump told House Majority Whip Steve Scalise, the Louisiana lawmaker who was seriously wounded in a June mass shooting. The president's firm stance likely gives House GOP leaders cover to take up the modest gun bill without the concealed carry language, a long-sought NRA priority, according to senior Republican sources. That's if the Senate passes any legislation, which is still uncertain. Democrats are balking at swift passage of the Fix-Nix bill absent a chance to pass more expansive gun control measures. Some conservative Republicans also oppose the legislation. In fact, Trump used the televised meeting to pointedly challenge fellow Republicans to defy the NRA, despite the influential pro-gun group's vocal support for his campaign. When Toomey said his background checks bill with mention didn't address the age limit for purchasing AR-15 style rifles, Trump replied, "Because you're afraid of the NRA, right?" That rhetorical flirtation left some Democrats hopeful that Trump would keep playing the shake up the system persona that he occasionally deployed on the campaign trail. "This may be an opportunity," Representative Elizabeth Esty, Democrat Connecticut, told reporters after she left the White House meeting. "If the president is willing to use his view of himself as a tough guy, someone who is not bought and paid for, that could be very helpful." Representative Ted Deutsch, Democrat Florida, whose district includes the high school where 17 students and teachers were shot to death earlier this month, on Wednesday seized the moment to give Trump the Parkland strong bracelet he has worn ever since the massacre. Deutsch said he didn't plan the gesture but gave it to the president in the hopes that it would remind him of the tragically commonplace nature of mass shooting commemorations. The White House is expected to make an announcement on gun violence as soon as this week. But aides won't say who is taking the policy lead on guns, a job that Vice President Joe Biden held during the Obama administration. The president has thrown himself into displays of consensus gathering. In addition to today's televised roundtable, he's held public meetings with shooting victims and governors. He's met privately with executives from the NRA. And despite Trump's declaration Wednesday that he had told the group he would stop this nonsense of mass shootings, gun advocates are confident that Trump won't turn against them. Capitol Hill Republicans privately said they expect the president to walk back his comments later this week. Senator John Kennedy, our who's said he doesn't see the need for new gun control bills and opposes the narrow background checks bill as written, said he wasn't bothered by Trump's televised thumbs up for proposals that Democrats are clamoring to vote on. "I don't know if Trump will reverse himself soon," Kennedy told reporters, "but presidents are people, too. They change their minds." Lorraine Wohlert, Heather Cagle and Rachel Bade contributed to this report. Missing from the gun debate: Trump's own experience with concealed carry. Over the past 2 weeks, President Donald Trump has convened a national debate on gun control, holding publicly broadcast meetings with lawmakers and students who survived the Parkland shooting, without mentioning that he's held a concealed carry permit. Trump received a concealed carry permit from New York City and owns handguns, according to a 2012 interview with the Washington Times, but he hasn't emphasized it since taking office. Since the Florida shooting, in which 17 people were killed at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School by a 19-year-old with an assault rifle, Trump has pushed repeatedly to allow teachers and school staff to carry weapons into classrooms, even asserting on Monday that he would have run in to stop the shooter, without talking about his own experience with guns. "If you carry concealed, you are the first responder. You're the grown-up in the room if there's a crisis," said Grover Norquist, a Trump ally who is on the board of the National Rifle Association but was not speaking on the group's behalf. "It changes the nature of who you are." Trump told reporter Emily Miller in the 2012 interview that he owned a .45 caliber Heckler & Koch sidearm and a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver. "The way I view it, if nobody has guns, then only the bad guys have them. And they aren't giving up their guns," he said at the time. Trump told a French magazine in 2016 that he always carries a gun, adding that he would have tried to stop the shooters who attacked the Bataclan nightclub in Paris in 2015. Norquist, who was at the White House for a meeting on criminal justice reform earlier this month, said the president remains comfortable with weapons. "He's compared hardware with the Secret Service guys," Norquist said. "The president has a deep understanding of what the Second Amendment is. It's a tangible thing." A White House spokesman didn't immediately respond to questions about the president's current gun ownership or permit status. In a White House meeting with Republican and Democratic lawmakers on Wednesday, Trump repeated his call to arm teachers. 98% of all mass shootings in the U.S. have taken place in gun-free zones, Trump said in a meeting Wednesday with Republican and Democratic lawmakers. "If you have one person in that room who could carry a gun and know how to use it, it wouldn't have happened. You've got to have defense, too, Trump said. You can't just be sitting ducks. And that's exactly what we've allowed these people to be. Trump has called himself a fan of the Second Amendment and has surrounded himself with supporters of gun ownership. Mercedes Schlapp, his director of strategic communications, was a board member of the NRA before joining the White House. His Interior Secretary, Ryan Zink, overturned a ban on using lead ammunition on wildlife refuges. In February 2017, Trump signed a bill to block the Social Security Administration from reporting mentally impaired recipients to a national background check database. In addition to allowing guns in schools, the president wants to keep guns out of the hands of the mentally ill and has suggested establishing more institutions to house people with mental health problems. He has promised to use his executive power to outlaw bump stocks, accessories that allow guns to fire faster, and called for very strong background checks, which gun advocates interpret to mean improvements to the National Instant Criminal Background Check System. The NRA has no objections to those ideas. The one apparent division between the Trump and the influential gun rights group is the minimum age for certain gun purchases, which Trump wants to raise to 21 from 18. The suspect in the Parkland school shooting, Nicolas Cruz, 19, legally bought an AR-15 about a year ago. The president still supports raising the age limit to 21 for the purchase of certain firearms, Sanders said Tuesday. We're not going to get into the details on the specifics of what we will propose, but we expect that to be part of the conversation. In addition to sitting down with lawmakers, Trump has met with shooting victims, state governors, and NRA leaders. The White House is expected to make an announcement on gun policy later this week.